Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for Level Up for Limitless Leaders. I am Simone Elbow, the Limitless leadership strategist and coach. We have been doing this amazing series, getting my eyes on here. We've been doing this amazing series on leadership and how to be an authentic leader. We are on part 4 and just really excited to dig into the content and really appreciative of all of your feedback and everything that you have been sharing to date. People have really been enjoying the series and saying that it's been very helpful to them. And that is, of course, our intent. We really want to make sure that we are transformational in the things that we do and the information that is shared on these various platforms. Thank you so much to LinkedIn for the opportunity to go live here and to be a contributor to this platform. Without further ado, I am going to share my screen and get into this. This is intended to be, as I always say, something that is short and impactful for you. So here we go. Awesome. Welcome to part 4. If you are tuning in to the replay, be sure to check out my profile for the other parts 1, 2, and 3, so that you can get all caught up and give your feedback, share your comments. Let me know how this is helping you. Today, we want to talk about how to communicate authentically. I can't stress enough how important it is for leaders to be able to communicate well, and not only well, but authentically. And we remember our definition from session 1, my definition. When we are being authentic, we are aligning our values and our beliefs, hearing some of the horror stories from people, from employees, fellow leaders, and so forth, that leaders who do not communicate well can really make or break an organization, can really cause people to have so much stress, can cause people to leave an organization just based on how you make someone feel and think about themselves because of how you communicate. People skills, communication skills for a leader are critical. You cannot just focus on your technical skills. And many leaders who get stressed out by leading, like, if we could just take this people element out of this, if we could just take the people side out of leadership, it would be great. If I could just focus on the numbers, if I could just focus on systems, it would be awesome. But I am sorry to break it to you, but dealing with people comes with the territory. And how you are able to communicate will certainly determine your level of success in that area. So, my first point to you is, how has your ability to communicate caused you to miss out? How has your ability to communicate either open doors of opportunity for you or keep them closed? Again, I can share, and I always try to be authentic and vulnerable with you as I share my own stories. But I can tell you that my ability to communicate authentically, meaning how can I get out of what I have in my head and my heart out of my mouth, right? In the best possible way to afford me opportunities. So I've seen myself miss out on negotiating properly, whether that is for a salary or for a contract. I've seen myself miss out on opportunities to really grow and to participate in particular activities or projects because I didn't speak up. And I've seen the same pan out in relationships, personal relationships, where you're not saying how you truly feel in a given situation or in a moment, or how you even feel about someone, to even know that you may share those feelings and you miss out on an opportunity for a wonderful friendship or a deeper relationship. We miss out on relationships even with our family members, with our team members, because we are not communicating as authentically as we can. So I want to share some tips as I normally do. So I think I have about 4 tips for you today, and then we transition into your coaching challenge and our topic for next week. So tip number 1, you have to assess your leadership beliefs. What you think is going to be what you say. What you believe is going to be what you say. You say what you believe. So it's taken me a while, but I figured out over life that people who crack jokes, who say things that, oh, that I was just kidding, are usually not kidding. So they crouch what they really believe in the garment of a joke, but it's not really a joke. It's what they believe. So you have to assess as a leader, what is, first of all, your leadership beliefs, your leadership philosophy. What do you think a leader is? And how do you think leaders should communicate? This could be tied to your personality style as well as your leadership style. So some people may have a very driven type A personality, we call it, where you're task oriented, you're driven, you're moving, you're getting things done. That translates in your communication style, where you may be very abrupt, you may be short, very direct. For some people who aren't like that, or who may have other sensitivities or insecurities, that may go over a different way. And you may say, well, then they need to grow up. This isn't kindergarten. This isn't preschool. We're at work. We have to do a job. That's that, direct type A fire personality. But empathy is the order of the day. Remember your emotional intelligence. So, yes, you're trying to get to the goal, but you need to temper that with compassion and empathy for where other people are. Remember, we talked about this. I'm bringing it back. We talked about this in our last session. So, even though your communication style may reflect your leadership style, you have to also think about, how is it affecting other people? And how is it affecting yourself? How is this affecting your opportunity to shine and to be taken in the best light possible? So think about how you see leadership. A lot of people see leadership as, I'm the boss, right? I'm the boss. And so I command, I direct, I am, I don't listen to others. And on this is a mindset that you have to challenge and think, what am I thinking about this concept of leadership? And what is my brand? What is the kind of leader that I want to be? Many of us, unconsciously, I believe, revert to a default setting when it comes to leadership. And more often than not, our default is based on a leadership style that we were introduced to in our lives. So if we've seen that leadership style in parenting, in teachers, in our early bosses, in our early stages of our career, we now generate a belief that this is how leadership is. And if this is how leadership is, when I get in a position of authority, I'm going to be the same way. Haven't you seen that happen with other people? You may have seen it happening with yourself. So you have to shape your own beliefs. That's how many people challenge themselves, because they'll say, well, you know what? This may have been what I was exposed to, but this isn't really what I like. I didn't enjoy how that felt. And then they opted to use another style of leadership and communication. So that's tip number one. And remember the tips because they're always incorporated in your coaching challenge at the end. Tip number two, be yourself. Embrace your uniqueness. This is so important. So many people feel that they ought to be like someone else when it comes to their leadership and their communication style. Listen, there is only one Barack Obama. There is only one Brene Brown. There is only one Paul Brunson. Whoever your name you want to call, there's only one of them, and there's only one of you. You need to find your unique style and communicate with that accordingly. So you have to figure out what are your communication inhibitions. And what do I mean by that? What are the things that's holding you back or you feel fearful about? Do you want to be charismatic and smooth and cool and calm like Barack Obama? Those are traits that you may admire, and that's great. And you can say, well, how could I incorporate perhaps a bit more calmness? Maybe I need to settle my voice or my tone down a little bit. Maybe I need to project a bit more confidence. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you want to change yourself to mimic or imitate someone else, you're stepping out of your natural inclination of how you will best communicate and how you will show up. Some people are great at telling jokes, great at humor. So I know my friend Toastmaster Troy Strawn is watching. He's won so many competitions for humorous speeches. That's his zone. He knows how to create a funny story or tell a joke. That may not be my zone. That may not be your zone. And you don't want to be out there trying to tell jokes and it falls flat. It's inappropriate for the time. All of these things take finesse. So you don't want to be somebody else. You don't want to compare yourself to what they're doing. You want to figure out who you are. What is your unique style? You may be someone who is just you're confident, but you're quiet, self-assured, but not flamboyant. Then run with that because people will be drawn to your authenticity. My friend I shared with you, Toastmaster Troy Strawn, he always says you could just do off the cuff so well. You can do impromptu speaking so well. That's my gift. That doesn't mean that that's anybody else's gift. So someone else may get up in front of an audience in an impromptu situation and completely blank out. You may need your notes. You may need to script. And if that is your zone, just stick with it and do it well. Tip number 3, disrupt yourself. What do I mean by that? This is something that I always say. This is a mantra. Sometimes you have to break the challenging things about yourself to do what is uncomfortable. Sometimes we use our inhibitions as excuses, and it holds us back. So you must disrupt your personal patterns and force yourself. Do it with intention to do what makes you uncomfortable, because that is where your power is. That is where your breakthrough really is. So what do you dislike about communicating as a leader? For some people, I had to struggle with this. It was having confrontations in the most positive sense of the word. Some people, hearing that word, you feel a knot in your stomach. Hearing that word gives a negative connotation, but it's not. It really means you are confronting certain situations that need to be addressed. We call it the elephant in the room. Let's stop dancing around it and pretending that it's not there. Let's talk about it. And sometimes it's just not as easy, as difficult as we make it out to be. What is it that we fear? Again, we have to check ourselves. Sometimes we fear, and for me, it was fearing a loss of relationship or a change in how someone saw me or being rejected because of sharing my opinion. And quite honestly, those things do happen. It is a risk that you have to take. But the risk is better than stewing about things. We hold things inside, we make ourselves sick, we get frustrated, we still challenge relationships when we do that, when we're not honest, when we're not authentic, when we are not direct and facing issues and talking about things that need to be said. Just sharing how you feel and saying and asking for what you want. If you are uncomfortable with that, you need to disrupt that pattern. I know I would always say, I have another friend out there who would fuss me all the time, Keishelle Davis. She would say, you need to sell more. And it's so funny that I'm partnering with Joyce Johnson from Y Sales Network. We're partnering on that, how to sell as an entrepreneur, and marketing mistakes that we make. But you have to disrupt that side of yourself. You know what I've realized? I'm not bad at selling. I just don't like selling me. I could sell anybody else in a heartbeat. I can promote till the cows come home for other people. So that's a pattern that I have to disrupt for myself. And I have to do what makes me uncomfortable because that is where my power is. Final tip, this is really important. You want to invite feedback. Now, this puts you in a place of real vulnerability, but we must embrace, excuse me, internal and external assessments of ourselves. Get a circle of trusted people, whether that's a mentor, whether that's good friends, a peer group, a mastermind group, but ask people, how do I communicate? Ask your spouse, ask your family, ask your children. They'll be happy to tell you. They'll say, well, mom, dad, you shout a lot or you don't listen, right? Like get the feedback and find out what they think. I joined Toastmasters last year and rejoined the Rotary Club International because I have to say that because they watch and they'll say, how come you didn't mention Rotary? But I joined Toastmasters last year against my own resistance to it. I never wanted to be a Toastmaster. It was my very first speech in my club. But when I really dug into it, I realized that I was afraid of what I had heard in Toastmasters, that you get feedback, that you get evaluated every time you speak. And I realized that I was afraid of the evaluation portion of the Toastmasters program. But over the years, I have learned that evaluation in any form that you find that at work, whether that's a formal performance review or just whatever people share about you, feedback is a gift. Feedback gives you the opportunity to change. Feedback gives you the opportunity to assess yourself and make the necessary changes for your good. So it doesn't feel good in the moment. It stings. We get defensive. We want to point fingers. But if we're honest with ourselves and we take what is given, sometimes it's not always right or accurate. Sometimes people make assumptions about you that aren't true. But there's something in there that could be a cause for reflection to tell you, hey, this is something that I really need to think about myself. So invite the feedback from people that you trust, who you believe will give their honest opinion about your communication style. And that's it. Part 4 is done. Here we are now with our coaching challenge for this week and beyond. Challenge your communication patterns and disrupt them if necessary. So there are some things that you're probably doing very well. Continue to do them. Embrace that. Leverage it. Things that you're not doing so well, look at ways that you can disrupt and transform those patterns of perhaps not speaking up, of being maybe too direct, not showing empathy in your speech, not listening to others, interrupting people. Some of these are my personal challenges. I interrupt because I love to talk, and so I have to make sure that I honestly I'm conscious of letting other people finish what they are saying and not mentally formulating my response, but genuinely listening. So whatever your communication patterns are, the good ones, embrace them, leverage them for your good. The negative ones, the ones that you can grow into, look at how you can change and disrupt them for your good and make that a strength. Next week, we're going into part 5. Authentic leaders make a difference. We are talking about how you can transform your environment through your authentic leadership skills. I am so looking forward to next week and the final week where we will be sharing with a couple guests that I will have on the platform. I'm really looking forward to that and to having you as a part of this live. So again, if you are watching live, if you are tuning in on the replay, thank you so much for joining, and tune in next week for part 5 of the series, How to Be an Authentic Leader.